ようやくわしの力を受け入れられるだけの準備が整ったか。ラキのせいで余計な時間がかかったわ。すっかり待ちくたびれたぞ。ここが新たなるわしの世界というわけだな。
それは違う。私たちは理由も聞かずあなたに従う気などない。
ここで何をしようとしているんですか？
さて、知りたいなら、力ずくで吐かせてみるか?
Hello everybody and welcome to this video in which we are going to talk about Warriors Orochi 4. The reason that we are doing so is that last week Koei Tecmo released an ultimate upgrade pack for the base game, which is a couple of years old now, I think. 2 years? 3 years? Couple of years old. Anyway, as Koei Tecmo likes to do, they've released an expansion for it, which brings new characters and some new gameplay modes and stuff into it. Unfortunately, none of which I'm going to be showing on this video, because I have been manically playing this, trying to get up to the point where I've got into the DLC stuff, but I was playing the Nintendo Switch version with the original game, so while I'm up to the DLC there, and you'll see a review for that on digitallydownloaded.net soon enough, I just am not up to the point when I needed to record this video that I've actually started to unlock that stuff. So do check out the website for the review of the contents. This video instead I'm going to use as an opportunity to talk about the Warriors series and really what I love about it, because I do love this series, and while I have some issues with this particular upgrade pack in that I don't think it adds enough to the base game really to justify being an expansion. But putting that aside, I do love the Warriors series with a great passion. I'm the one person out there that was out there defending Dynasty Warriors 9, which I thought is great. I still play that game to this day. I was one of the very few media supporters of it, and it's just because I love the series so much. So I thought that it would be fun to do a video just kind of showing off some footage of Warriors Orochi 4 in case you haven't played it yet, and just talk about the series as a whole. So I actually came to this series quite late, and the reason for it is basically that I paid attention to the reviews, which I probably shouldn't say given that I'm a game critic and I want people to read my reviews, but the reality is that for the longest time the Dynasty Warriors, or the Warriors series, has had a reputation for being a bunch of mindless button mashers, and that has led to the critical consensus for these games being quite low, and the reputation for the series to be, not that great. It's changed a little bit in recent times, although Dynasty Warriors 9 probably set it back a step or two, but overall, for most of its history, the Warriors series has been that kind of ultra niche thing that a very small number of people enjoy, but most people would pay attention to the reviews and the general critical consensus to overlook them. The only reason I actually played one in the first place was because, for whatever reason, Nintendo decided to publish Samurai Warriors 3 in Australia, and as it came from a big publisher effectively then, it was assigned to me back when I was working for GamePro Australia as a fairly major release on the calendar, and I didn't really have a choice to say no. In that case, I had to play it. So there I was, expecting to absolutely hate this game, Samurai Warriors 3, put it into my Wii, and it was about 140 hours later I realised that I was a really big fan of Samurai Warriors, and not just the game, I was also a big fan of Japanese history. As most people who know me know, I've become a very big follower of Japanese history. I read a lot of books. I actually go to visit battlegrounds and important historical sites within Japan every time I go to the country. I would say a big part of my trips was actually occupied with learning about the Japanese history. And the reason for all of that can be drawn back to Samurai Warriors 3. So anybody who says that video games can't be inspiring and educational obviously hasn't played one of these games. And if I was to pick one particular reason that I love the Warriors series so much, it is that history side of things. Because while these games are obviously exaggerated and they're not a realistic take on history, they are authentic to the history in that they do try and represent the characters and personalities from these periods of time in a way that is true to who they were, and it does show the events that took place. And those events are abstracted, but they do follow along with the timelines and whatever that actually happened. So if, for example, someone betrays someone in a battleground, that is reflected in some way in the in the games as well. If there's some kind of dramatic natural event that happens, such as at the Battle of Cherbe in the Dynasty Warriors series, where a big wind came and really damaged the fleet of one of the attacking sides. That is represented in each of the Dynasty Warriors games in some way. So while it's not realistic, as I said, it is authentic, and that is really important to me because it gives me the basis to start to learn about the history. And Samurai Warriors 3 gave me a list of 30 odd characters, and I was able to then go onto Wikipedia as a start and learn more about those characters that way. And after that, when I started to go to Japan and I went to the museums and the castles, because in lots of Japanese castles there's historical information and they work like kind of mini museums in their own right. Every time I go, I start to recognize names and I start to piece together what happened in that period, and I start to learn more about it. So again, it's having that entry point, that first bit of inspiration to want to learn, that the Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors series is really particularly effective. So when we get to Warriors Orochi, the reason I love it is because it is basically fan service for people that like the Warriors series. It does away with any pretense about having historical context, and these are all very fantasy battles. And in Warriors Orochi 4's case, you're actually fighting against not only the Orochi demon, but you're also fighting against the Greek and Norse gods, and they're all pulled into this great big battle royale, which is absolutely nonsense. But it's fun, and it's fantasy, and it lets you bring your favourite bunch of characters from across both series together in a silly hypothetical that really lets you kind of indulge your love of those characters. So for me, I have a number of characters that I really enjoy. Lady Sun here, Sun Shangxiang, Richi from the Samurai Warriors series, the sister of Nobunaga Oda, and then Kunoichi, who wasn't actually a real person in history. Kunoichi is actually a term for a female ninja, and there were female ninjas, but there wasn't one called Kunoichi. She kind of represents all female ninjas. But anyway, she's my other most favourite, and you can bring those three together and they go around beating up lots of enemies, and it's good fun. It's all just very fan servicey, and I think that Warriors Orochi 4 does a particularly good job of that. So putting aside whatever comments you might have about the value of this new expansion pack, the base game is amazing. It has this really great flowing combat system that really encourages you to use a huge range of different skills and abilities. There's magic in there, and you can create some really impressive, very visually dynamic combos by mastering a fairly simple combat system. It's the kind of one that you don't have to be a fighting game fan to really enjoy either. Sometimes action games, like for example the Devil May Cry series or Bayonetta, can be a little bit too complex for people who aren't really that coordinated with button stuff. If you're not a huge fighting game fan, then certainly the higher difficulty levels of those games are really kind of out of your league. Whereas with these games, it's more about kind of understanding how to do those button combinations. There's nothing that's really going to inhibit your ability to execute them once you've learnt them. So it's very accessible, it's visually impressive, it's entertaining, it's fan servicey, and Warriors Orochi 4 is absolutely huge. Even before you take into account the ultimate upgrade pack, there is 170 characters you can collect as you play. So that's an awful lot. Each of those can be leveled from 1 to 100. There are ways to automatically level them up if you don't have that kind of time, but if you wanted to, you could actually manually level up every single one of those 170 characters. The upgrade pack adds another 7 characters, including fan favourites that probably should have been in the base game but weren't, such as Achilles from the Warriors Legend of Troy series, and obviously Greek mythology, and also Joan of Arc, who was from Bladestorm and obviously French history. So she's a great character. I really enjoyed her. I've really enjoyed having her back into the game with this expansion pack. That's probably my highlight of what was on offer. And yeah, it's a lot of kind of really high energy, fan servicey fun. And that's really where Warriors Orochi sits. On top of all the kind of character stuff as well, I should mention there is an awful lot of levels in this game. This is one of those games which just doesn't seem to end. You'll play for hour upon hour upon hour, and every time you think you're getting to some kind of narrative point, which would be a conclusion, which should be a conclusion, there'll be some way for it to extend on and on. So there's a lot of raw content in this game. And again, the expansion does add some new story elements to go with those new characters, as well as some new modes, which are kind of unlimited modes, effectively, giving you even more ways to never stop playing this game if you want. It is a real time sink, and that's a good thing in this particular case because I enjoy it so much. But yeah, do look out for my review on digitallydownloaded.net for the thing. Do let me know if you're a fan of the Warriors games. If you are a fan, why you enjoy them. I'm really keen to hear from more Warriors fans out there. Otherwise, please do like and subscribe if you enjoy my videos, and I'll be able to do a lot more and make sure that you see them. And please do back me on Patreon if you do enjoy them. That even $1 a month actually goes a long way to helping me to continue to make these. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you at the next one.